Yo, what up, everybody? Live with Coach RT3, episode 11. And this week we've got my man Nat Viranond joining us. He's local here in San Francisco, and if you've been following along, you would have seen him in my Movement Tip Tuesdays on Instagram. We've been collaborating on those efforts, just trying to help upgrade you folks. Anyway. Yo, what up, bro?
What up? It works.
Man, welcome to Live with Coach RT3.
Excited to be here.
Yeah, excited to have you, man.
Sure.
So for those of you who do not know, this is Nat, and AKA Luther. He is the Luther to my Obama-ness, and and
Yes.
if you guys have been, if you've known that show, what was that show? Key and Peele? Key and Peele. Then you know what we're talking about. I'm the more civil of the two of us, and this is my extremely wild, rambunctious.
But you want me to tone it down for family because you got kids watching, right?
We got kids watching. No, I mean there's probably not a whole lot of kids watching, but you know, Nat's gonna keep it somewhat toned down to a certain degree.
I'm gonna do the best I can, but if you get me going, Rich, I mean that's responsible, right?
I'm gonna get you going. I'm gonna get you going.
I'm gonna do my best.
Don't worry about that.
No question.
What's up, Ed Duffy?
Hey, Ed, what's up, bro?
Anyway, so as you may or may not know about the show, usually just start out by just letting you kind of give a background on, you know, where you're from, you know, who you are, where you grew up, you know, how you got into fitness, all that. So everybody kind of has an idea of where you know, how you got to where you're at today.
Okay, so you want a raw and uncut, right?
Raw and uncut.
All right, so I'm from Southern California. My mom is a nurse. My dad did a variety of things. I actually was not very, I was never very physical or, you know, athletic growing up. Kind of just hung around the neighborhood, you know, hung out with kids in the neighborhood, did whatever. I actually didn't really start lifting. I never actually lifted a weight till I got upstate. In 2003, 2004, I got sentenced to 126 months of mandatory minimum prison sentence. And I actually never lifted weights till I first hit the yard. And that is actually where I started, you know, having this love for lifting and training people. And it just sort of went from there, you know. And I just had a good deal of practice doing that in that type of environment. Obviously, you know, the things that we value at that time are different in terms of working out, right?
Mm-hmm.
And really, you know, you have a lot of time to pass. So that's how I started getting into fitness. I got out and I tried to do the college thing. I did like signs, I did graphics, I did t-shirts, I did a lot of different things. I turned in a lot of job applications. But, you know, any real skills I had were from jobs that I had when I was gone. So I didn't necessarily have a whole bunch of skills that were very applicable, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I had always done this, and this had always made sense to me. So I was in PSU, and I had like way too many credits, right? And I had scholarship offers, and, you know, I'm Asian, so my mom's like, well, you don't just go to school, just keep going to school, like, just pick something. I'm like, nothing excites me, it don't make me happy. I don't feel like I'm helping anybody. She's like, what is this happy shit? You know, all this helping people. Just go get a job. Right? You need to work, right? So I took a break, and I was like, man, I'm going to take a break for a semester and see what happens. I'm just going to do this in the meantime, right? And then, like, right when that happened, all these things started happening, a lot of opportunities. My boy Nabil, like, you know he works with a lot of celebrities and whatnot, and he plugged me with some people. I had some great opportunities there. The scariest opportunity, though, was here in San Francisco, right? And it was working for a small gym called Oxalon. Oxalon was this gym that had, like, a special setup because you have, like, 46 people in there at one time. And they did, like, small group personal training. Everybody had their own program. So I basically ran the whole shop, right? And I got to learn from Jeremy Chung, who was like basically my first real mentor in the business. Like really smart guy, very successful in the training world, had been around a long time, you know, been around some really good people, a lot of things. And, you know, he really helped me understand what it takes to sort of make it in this business, right? So it was a great opportunity for me. I did that for like 19 months, right? Like I actually, so when I came down here, I didn't have anywhere to live, and I was actually sleeping in the gym, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I used an air mattress that Jeremy had, and I would like pump it up in the morning. I mean, I'd take it down in the morning, you know, clean up, whatever. After training was over, I would inflate the mattress back up, go to sleep, like rinse and repeat, right?
Right.
That's how I got started here, and I did that for about. I was there for about 19 months, right? And at that time, like the opportunity was great. And Michelle, who was Jeremy's wife, they ran the shop together, and they had given me a great opportunity, right? So I was really appreciative of them, but like it was like time for me to go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, like I needed to do something different. So when I made the decision, you know, I let them know. I started scouting around. I found Urbano, came here. I've just been doing this ever since, man.
Yeah.
You know, I think you know that I've sort of really sort of went all in on the FRC stuff, you know, the functional range systems, and sort of that's just like, that's the bulk of what I do now. It's, I hooked up with this guy named Anthony Gustin, who's a super smart chiropractor, was a sports chiropractic guy over in Valencia. He was at SF Cuts of Chiropractic. And he was just like, he was sort of him and Jeremy were like the greatest influences on me in the beginning, right?
Mm-hmm.
And actually just like really working with him, I learned so much, right? And he trusted me with his people. I trusted him with my people. And we just had this great sort of relationship. And like, we were just like 100% off across the board. Every time, like, you know, we both worked with somebody, it's like, we had these results that nobody else was getting, right? Like nobody. So like we were on to something, and I just sort of went all in on it. You know, it's kind of, I feel like some people look at a trainer when they say, "Oh, you do rehab," because I'm not a medical professional, right?
Right.
I didn't go to school. I'm not PT. I don't do soft tissue, but bulk of what I do is rehab. And you know, I approach it a lot different than I think everybody does, or most people do. I shouldn't say everybody. And but it makes sense to me. It's always made sense to me.
Right.
And so that's where I found my little niche.
It's dope. So for those of you listening, like most of the stuff that I'm hearing from that is the first time I'm hearing it too. So we're gonna dig into it.
It's actually the first time anybody's hearing it.
Oh, for real? That nice. So this is like I'm really appreciative of you being able to, you know, put that out to everybody, because I think, you know, a part of what makes us, you know, who we are is our stories, you know, and a part of, you know, our history and our story and what makes us who we are is, you know, it helps people understand us more, and I think it draws people closer, you know, to us.
Yeah, no, for sure. You know, and it's not necessarily that, you know, I've wanted to sort of hide that from people. It's just not something that, you know, comes up in the normal course of conversation, right?
Right.
And I think that, and I'm assuming you're referring to, you know, the first revelation, so to speak. But, you know, it's not something that, you know, you walk like, "Hey, bro, did you know that?" Right? And if we're being honest, it's like, to me, I don't think that affects the way that I do my job, right? If anything, I've got a chip on my shoulder.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because one, I was supposed, you ain't gonna make it past this, hey, blah, 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 and, you know, and I'm the guy that, like, if you check all the boxes, right, I'm not supposed to make it.
Right.
I'm not supposed to make it. I'm just not, right? Oh, you talk about intergenerational criminality, and like my grandfather died inside of a prison. My grandmother did 15 years. My father's been on the run for a federal gun warrant gun smuggling warrant for since I was like 12, right? This thing of intergenerational criminality, and this thing of, like, you know, it pervades color lines. Like, you look at me, you see the Asian kid with glasses. You don't see that, right?
Right.
And right now, most people that, if anybody, like, and when somebody watches this, if they actually watch it and they hear this about me, they're like, I'm like, oh, he kind of makes more sense now, right? But
Right.
at the same time, they're going to be like, oh my God, like
Right. I mean, you judge, like a lot of people judge,
Oh,
people
no
just based
doubt.
on who they are. It's
Doubt.
like, I mean, I think
Yeah.
we can tie it back to like kind of what we were talking about even today,
Mm-hmm.
where, we put out these movement tips,
Yeah.
and most of the time I'm making the introduction, and then I kind of, lob it to you,
Yeah.
and then you drop science,
Yeah.
and, it's not like I can't drop science, but
No.
at the same time, I get a response in my inbox,
Right.
trying to oversplain, you know,
I was like, he didn't know he was gonna get like worse, right?
but,
Like
but,
he was gonna get worse.
so
Because I
he's,
will probably just cuss him out. Be like,
I mean, it's funny because like, I don't know what that person thought or what made them like directed at me, but not at you. It's
he
like,
didn't.
well,
He didn't have. The thing is, he didn't think about it, right? That's the thing. Like, it's not a conscious thought. It was already there,
right,
right? It didn't take any thinking. It didn't take any consciousness. It just happened,
right.
right?
So for
And
those,
that's so. Go ahead.
yeah, I mean, so for those of you who do not know, Tuesday's movement tip was about ankles. Just give you some background. Tuesday's movement tip was about ankles, particularly because Steph Curry
Steph.
had been spraining his ankle, and we were talking about adapting the tissue, and having athletes spend more time working on adapting the tissue in certain ranges. And so I passed it to Nat. Nat gave us, a little explanation, a tip. So we're talking about the ankle and loading the ankle tissues, and I get a message in my inbox, and this guy is explaining to me why his tool, um, which I'm gonna just go ahead and put it out there, the sand dune stepper,
I was about to say. See, I was about. Yeah, I think that's what you call it.
sand dune stepper or something. Why his tool is the best tool, and as if I don't know what I'm talking about, or if I don't have an ability to respond to that. I mean, Nat was the one given the information, so I'm confused as to why he didn't approach Nat. And I said, it's probably because you're the Asian guy with glasses, so he probably assuming like, well, I'm not gonna
Yeah.
mess with that guy. I'm gonna mess with this dude. And so
Yeah.
when I drop knowledge on him, he gets
He
all
didn't do.
defensive. You
He got
know,
sick. Yeah.
um, and so I think one of the things is like the stereotypes and what we think of people when
Oh
we
yeah.
first look at them is
He does math. Yeah, I do math, fool. You damn right.
but yeah, anyway, um so that's really interesting. And for those of you who don't know, Nat's background is Thai, so um you know I think for me it's funny because I was like, why did I feel connected to Nat? And for those of you who don't know, I spent 5.5 years in Thailand. So I was like, man, something about this dude is cool. It's dope.
Yeah.
And then I was like, damn, he's a Raider fan too. And I'm easing my way out of being a Raider fan, because they moving to Vegas and all.
Bro, I like for real.
But,
Oh,
but
for life.
I mean,
MC, what's up, Marcus?
I was all about for life, but you know, I've been a season ticket holder for a long time, man, and that was just a stab in the
We don't turn it around, man. We gonna
heart,
fix those
man.
things inside there. We gonna fix that insidious. So
But
Marcus Branch, he's on here. It's like I could say he was one of my mentors as well.
so as far as like challenges go, clearly, you've had your fair share of challenges like growing up, and you
I mean,
know
everybody, right?
and like you said, you're not supposed to be here. Like a lot of us
Not
feel
supposed to be here.
feel that way, right? Like where we grew up and what we've experienced. Um, but how would you say like all of that has like impacted the way you approach fitness as a
I
whole?
would say, like, we got this thing of that whole like we are a sum of our experiences deal, right? So I feel like I bring a special skill set to this because one, I know what it's like to use that as therapy, right? In a psychological, emotional sense, whatever, right? Mental sense.
Right.
Also, I've had to be like unflinching in my conviction of things, right? And in order for a person to do that, like you've got to go deep down the rabbit hole, right? And remember, I was telling
Right.
you today, like we should always assume that we're wrong. Our goal should to be for us to be less wrong as time goes on, right?
Right.
For me, like that's wrong. That's true. I could always be wrong, but if I'm gonna put myself out there and I'm gonna say something, like I have to really believe that, right? Like the thing I love about the functional range systems is this: is like you go in and you're not going in to just listen to this dude tell you what he thinks. They want you to engage. They want you to question, right?
Right.
So if for me, like I felt at home because I'm like I go into anything that I learned as a skeptic.
Right.
I come in, I tell myself, this person is lying to me, and I have to figure out where, right? And the less things that I can figure out that they're lying to me about, the more comfortable I feel examining the information, right? So when you come from a place or have been in a place where like, you know, your unflinching conviction means the life or death of you or somebody you care about, right? And you start to become accustomed to that, law of specificity, right?
Right.
It makes things much more clear. Like you go tunnel vision, tunnel vision, and sort of hone in on what's important and what matters, and all the rest of the stuff that doesn't matter falls to the wayside.
Right.
And I feel like I have that ability in training, right? Like I can sort of hone in on like what it is that was going to be this person's best bang for his buck, and or his or her buck. Also, like I'm not like something doesn't work out, like I don't freak out, right? I'm like I freak out whether like about that person's safety always, right? But I don't necessarily show it, right? Like I'm making the calculations in my head, and I'm sort of like used to being in tense situations, and you know it's almost natural to me. I almost feel more at home in a place that has and as I'm thinking about it now, that might be why I'm like I act the way I do when I'm in here, right? Because I'm almost trying to recreate that again, right? I'm used to living in this volatile place where there's like challenge and like enemies and something to push against, right? And for me, when things are just sort of nice and cool and smooth, like I feel uneasy. If I'm comfortable, I feel uneasy. I don't like it, and I will start looking for something, right? So like I approach training in that manner because if we look at the human system, and Mike Ramphone was talking about this, he's like the undulations in terms of stress and recovery, right? We want to make those undulations as large as possible, right? So when I'm going all in, I'm going all in. I'm asking for everything you have, whether that be like pails and rails, an isometric contraction, or like, you know, I'm working that alactic, you know, type of, I don't want to say energy system, but you know what I mean? Like, you know, alactic work or whatever, right? I'm asking for like the biggest amount of stress so that because I want to create the greatest adaptations to those biggest amounts of stress, right? And I think that's a carryover in terms of like a direct carryover, right? Because I'm looking for stress. I'm looking to create things to push up against or pull against, right?
Right.
And I'm naturally that way now. And I think also like my ability to communicate with people that are like from completely different backgrounds, right? I think you know that when you're upstate, it's a race thing, right? But you know, I have great friends that are black. I have great friends that are Mexican. I have great friends that are white. I have great friends that are, you know, I'm obviously like, you know, with my own culture, right? So that being said, though, like if it's not just me, I'm not Luther, right? Because I have other people's safety in my hands, then I can be more like you, right? And I can communicate to different people and sort of feel where they're coming from and let them know where I'm coming from in a certain way. And I think that's invaluable in our business, right? In our line of work, right? If you can't communicate, like I don't care if you're the smartest person in the world. I don't care if you know everything that Shivers knows and Dre knows, right? If you can't translate that, you can't transfer that to anybody. If you can't transfer that to the individual, it means nothing. It means zero.
Right.
Zero. So
let's jump into FRC because we've both been doing it. You've been running Kinstretch, so you're a lot deeper in than I am. So I'm still kind of trying to get to that spot.
I feel like I'm barely wrapping my head around like the real stuff right now. I'm just barely like pawing my way in right about now.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like everything I've done to this point is still surface in the system, right?
Yeah.
And each time that sort of I figure out a new thing, I realize like how deep that hole is.
Right.
Right? It's crazy.
But I think we can both agree that it's not so much a system as it is a thought process, right?
Yes, absolutely.
You know,
Absolutely.
like I think something I just posted today about systems. Like people are looking for systems, and people are looking for like some like magic pill that just says, you know, if A, then do B, and like just take this blanket, you know,
Yeah.
concept and lay it over, you know, lay it on everybody because it works on everybody, you know, and it's like that's
No,
not the way things work.
no such thing. No such thing. We're humans, right? We are a sort of a system of systems that's always adapting to whatever the other system is doing, whatever feedback it's getting, right? So if you think that you're gonna be like, your my hip is this, go put the band around it, and then like rock it back and forth, and then like and then go squat, like you're crazy. Like you don't know what that person's acetabulum looks like.
Right.
Like you didn't check to see like is it a capsular thing? Is it a bony thing? Is it a neuromuscular thing? Right? You don't know those things. How can you just say like, oh, if this, then do this?
Right.
You're crazy. You're crazy. Like it's ridiculous, and that's for lazy people who don't want to put in the work. If
Right.
you're lazy and you don't want to put in the work, you shouldn't be in this line of work.
That's
Period.
hey, that's what I feel. And so like I kind of get like, you know, annoyed by the constant like influx of this system, that system. I mean, there's some entities out there that I really enjoy and I appreciate because there's a deep thought process behind it, and it's very loose. You know, a couple of those things that I kind of like adhere to or like are like AFM. I like that. I like FRC. You know, there's a couple other things out there, but I mean, the whole idea that like here's your exercise library. Here are the
Oh,
things you need to do. You
right.
know, do this
For sure.
program, do this program, and then level up to here, and then level up to here. It's like you're just getting
You still,
better at that.
yeah, exactly. And you're getting better at that. However, you got better at the last thing, and that's not guaranteed that that's what you're supposed to be doing or what's going to be best for you or what's beneficial.
Right.
You know what I
Right.
mean? Like if I get better at bench pressing, my numbers, like I was 166 and I top tested 296 pounds, right? Clean.
Right.
But bro, I didn't have shoulders. I didn't have shoulder blades, right? Like
Right.
I got the weight up. I got stronger.
Right.
At what cost, right? Because like 6 months later, my shoulder was gone.
Right.
Right? Didn't like my shoulder was just blew out, right? And so that's like what you're talking about, right? Like, oh, do this, then do this, and do this, right? So it's almost like if you just take it down to the most simple level, like bench press this much, then bench press a little bit more, then bench press a little bit more, right? And yeah, the weight's gonna go up because the system adapts. The system adapts
Right.
to whatever you ask it to, right? Until
Right.
it doesn't anymore,
Right.
right? Until it doesn't.
Or until something breaks, you know,
Yep.
like,
Yep.
and that's the one thing you know, I'm kind of coming to that conclusion. I think it's, you know, it's like right time. It's the right timing for me, right? Like it's an age thing, and then it's an experience thing, and then it's having to deal with my own ailments, and you know, running across. You know, I knew that I needed to see FRC. I knew that I needed to be around that stuff, and then
Yeah, the first time
that
we
kind
talked
of
was
brought me to you. Yeah.
right. The first time we talked was about FRC. Yeah.
Yep. I mean, that kind of is what steered me to, because I think you had already done it, and I was signing up to do it. Like you did it up in Oregon,
Yeah, I did
and
that. Thank you.
so I would have met you there. That's the crazy
Yeah, I
thing.
know, right? I know.
That's the craziest thing, because I was trying to go to that Oregon one,
Mm-hmm.
and I wasn't with Fitness Urbano,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, something got in the way, and I was like a day out from like the day I wanted to sign up. Like the day before, I was trying to sign up, and I was like, okay, it's open. I'm gonna do it tomorrow because I just need to clear some space on my credit card. The
Yeah.
next day, it was like full, and I was like, oh man. And so when I talked to you about it the first time, we were chatting, and you were like, yeah, I did it up in Oregon. And I was like, last year, and you were like, yeah, and I was like, damn, I'm supposed to be at that one, you know? And so that was like our
Yeah, no
first
doubt.
conversation, right? But the funny thing is like I think you meet people like at the time you're supposed to meet them, right?
Yeah,
Like if we had ran into each other there, it would have been a totally different conversation, right? It wouldn't have been the same
because
conversation.
our heads would have been like, boom,
Yeah.
I'm here. But yeah, no, for sure, I
And you would
agree.
have been looking at me like, who is this clown?
I was like, bro, he ain't got no IR. Wait, no, I didn't know that. I didn't know that yet. I think, yeah, I mean, we wouldn't necessarily have, ran. There was a huge crowd too, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, if like logistically speaking, if you just look at it from like completely common sense terms, like it's not even a guarantee that we would have ran into each other. But I think
Right.
the universe, so to speak, has its ways.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyhow, like I think um, one of the things that like I want to do Kinstretch and FRA. So when you did like how did Kinstretch take you to
I would
like
I would
another
say
level of
Kinstretch deepens your understanding of FRC. Um, Kinstretch really does deepen your understanding of FRC. I think FRC, when you take it, like, unless you're like super, super smart, and I mean, unless when you take FRC, I think you have to go home and you have to review the slides, you have to review the presentations, you have to apply you have to apply the thought process with yourself first, right? Because there's very little pressure there. Um, because if you're on when it was fresh and new to me, like a lot of it made sense and a lot of it was very blurry, right? So if you take FRC and you don't go home and do the homework and you don't apply, you don't start, like if you just, I mean, even if you just did cars, you get great benefit from the FRC, right? Your ROI on
right,
like $900 is like, is easily done, right?
right,
But if like you go all in and like just go all in and like really start to review the information, really start to take it in and really start to apply it, really start to read the actual research and the science behind it, it's a lot to take in. I mean, it was a lot for me to take in, right?
right,
And so when I went to Kinstretch, a lot of the stuff that I sort of had a little like handle on, it was solidified there, right?
mm,
And I was able to like, oh, boom, this is the connection from here to here.
right,
And because of this, and because of that, right? So Kinstretch really solidified my understanding of FRC, and it gave me a systematic skeleton, so to speak, right? Combined with the thought process to use it in a group setting,
right,
right? And I think that was highly valuable for me because my thing has always been like I love working with groups, right?
right,
But inevitably, when you teach a group class, and you already know this, right? Like you go there, like somebody can't squat, somebody
right,
can't dance, somebody can't do a push-up, somebody can't this or that, right? So
right,
now you're faced with this thing where, do I stop the whole class and work through this with this person? Because that's not what everybody else paid for.
right,
And if I give the class, a hard workout or make everybody sweat, then this person is inevitably accumulating some type of damage, right?
right,
And ethically, I can't do that, right?
right.
So Kinstretch was just perfect for me because I'm like, you need prerequisites to be in group classes, right? But this is a group class that gives you prerequisites.
Right.
So I was just like, it was like, and I was all about it. So I went all in.
And
Yeah,
that's
I haven't been marketing it or like pushing it or anything, but I think that's it's definitely on my list of things to do. If there's like a few things on my wall right now, like that I want to do that I want to use to affect change, like I want more people to do a daily carbs routine because of me, right?
right,
Very simple.
right,
Like I just want more people to do a daily carbs routine because of me. And
right.
I think that has untold benefits. It has untold benefits, right?
Yeah,
It
yeah. I
just
mean, it has huge benefits, and like I think one of the conversation I had with Hunter,
mm-hmm.
Hunter Cook on the day of FRC, because I'd been following his stuff for a while, and I'd sent messages back and forth, and finally meet him and be like, yo, man, I got like this going on, I got this going on, and he was like, do your cars. And he
Mm-hmm.
was like, and if nothing
Yep.
changes, seek help, you know. And I said, all right, I'm gonna do it. And so first thing, I mean, I wasn't even home yet. I was I was driving from Oceanside because it was at Exos. I was driving from Oceanside. I stopped in like the outlets on 5
Mm-hmm.
and hopped out of the car. I was like, man, I didn't do my cars this morning.
Yeah.
Like I was, because
Me
I
too.
literally hopped
Me
in the
too.
car. I hopped in the car at 4 a.m. to try to get through LA before the traffic. And I was like, I don't have time to do these cars. I'm gonna just drive. And then first chance I got, pulled into that parking lot. It was empty. Nobody was in there. Security came by. I was out there like they drove by and they were looking at me like, what the hell is this man doing? Like
Call mental health.
he's
We
doing
have we call mental health right now.
we
We need backup.
we've got a guy doing old man exercises in the parking lot and he doesn't look that old.
He's doing Tai Chi, but I don't think they're supposed to be that color. Get him.
So I literally hopped out, did my cars, got home, did more cars because I was like, I've been sitting in the car, and literally it became a routine. And I started noticing that when I didn't do them, my body felt a certain way.
Hell yeah.
And when I
Hell
when I
yeah.
do them, my body also feels a different
Yes,
way.
sir. Yep.
And I
Yes.
also started because I had some shoulder impingement issues. I started recognizing exactly where that impingement was happening and started understanding, okay, there's something that needs to happen to change at that spot. And so, literally the next step was, pails and rails and, started working on those and, scapular control, all that sort of stuff, like has really affected, am I pain free? No. I mean, it didn't take me a few months to get to this level.
Exactly.
Like you, it was bench press all the time. It was let's get to 300. I want to do 17 reps. I wanted to match my 17 reps when I was 25 at 225. And, I think I may have gotten like 14, 15, something like that. But, you know, here I am just pushing, like just pushing through it, gritting it, just yeah, something feels a little off, but I'm still doing it, and when, Dre said, you don't have a shoulder. He's telling people you don't have a shoulder. I'm like looking at it like,
Like
for
what
real?
what was right? No,
Like
for
if your
real, man.
shoulder isn't doing what it's supposed to do, then you don't have a shoulder.
Yeah.
And I was like, damn, my shoulder doesn't do what it's supposed to be doing. And that was like mind blowing to me, right? It helped me reframe the way I thought about like everything that I'm doing,
Me
right?
too.
Animal flow,
Me too.
steel mace, all these sort of things. And so I see people doing steel mace work and I'm like, you don't have the prerequisite for this, you
Well, I
know?
almost stopped doing everything but FRC for like I would say 8 months maybe. Like I literally almost never lifted, and when I did, I was like, everything, like what, everything, man. And it's like,
Right,
but that's it. Like I went too far on this end of the pendulum, right? And,
right,
so, and that's also sort of my personality. I sort of when I like tunnel vision, right? Like when I'm in something, like that's it. That's the only thing that exists. Like, that's the
right.
only thing I see. That's the only thing. Like not like everything else is sort of like it just, you know what I mean? And I think that's actually like a hard thing that I'm going through with Casey right now, right? With twins, it's like it's hard for me to have tunnel vision,
Right.
and I'm really trying to like struggling to adjust to that. And
Yeah.
you know, it's like literally when I'm on something like that's it. Like I can't do anything else. I roll over in my seat. That's all I think about. Like I wake up in the morning. Like I have notes that I need to write. I need to try something right away, or Casey like, what are you doing? Like like I just jump up in the middle of nowhere. Like I have to test this. I have to figure out what this is. It's like, or I'll be driving. I'll be like, well, how can I? It's like I I'm obsessive to some degree, you
Right.
know. So
So that's twins. Let's talk about
yeah,
that. Craziness, man. So you had
it's
twins not
crazy,
too long
man.
ago.
Yeah, they're 6 months. They just turned 6 months. They're both really
Yeah.
good babies, you know, for the most part. But a lot of work, and we up here by ourselves, right? We don't have any help. I'm just
Right.
she's not work. We decided that I would work. She really wanted some time alone. She wanted some time like directly, just dedicated to them, and I wanted to give them that, right? So I'm out here busting my ass,
Right.
man. Trying to take care of
Right.
business, man. Yeah, trying to do it the right way this time.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do it the right way, man. And yeah, I mean, we that's the thing I really like about, the kind of little community we have growing is that,
Yeah.
it's
Agreed.
all kind of like a little supportive, in different
Yeah.
ways from different angles. Um,
We all want everybody to win.
yeah. I mean,
Right.
because for me, like for a long time, I was anti like being in
Me too.
kind of public gyms, like or
Too.
gyms with other trainers because um, I'm doing my own thing to a certain degree, and like I said, I'm sure people look at some stuff I do sometimes, and they're like, "Man, what's that dude doing?" Um,
I
and
think that's about like everybody everywhere, right?
yeah, I mean,
Uh,
in retrospect, there's sometimes there's been stuff in the past that I've probably done with clients that I'm like, I would look at myself and be like, "Man, what's that dude
oh
doing?"
yeah.
But
Every 2 years or so, I look back and I cringe. I'm like, oh, I can't believe I was doing that. And I
right,
and I was like no qualms about it. I'm like, oh my god, who is that person? I'm so
right.
embarrassed. So embarrassed. I hope nobody brings that up. Please don't bring that up.
But it's,
But
it's
I've had to go through this process with the people that I get to train, right? Like,
right,
look, I know 2 years ago I said this, I was wrong.
right,
This is what I believe now, and this is what we're doing, and this is why. You know, I can't force anything on anybody, but
right,
like, but this worked. Yeah, I know, but this works better,
right,
right? But that got me out of pain. I know this will keep you out of pain,
right. Yeah,
right? And that's a hard thing, right? To be like, hey, you know what? I know I used to say this, or like, didn't you say this before? Yes, I did, but I was wrong.
right.
I was wrong because of this, and now I believe this is what's better, right? But it takes a lot, man.
Yeah, it does. It
It's
does.
like an overhaul. It's like an overhaul, especially after you go to FRC. It's just like, oh my god, here we go. Like, and I was on the plane like, man, I have to change my whole business over. Like,
Right.
I have to change almost everything I'm doing. Um, Outside of like, because I had already been doing like position isometrics, and I've been doing what they call pails and rails. I've been doing some degree of like articular work, but I
Hmm.
didn't understand it on that level, right?
Right.
And I was still like, and I was using that, right? But it was mostly to get people out of pain and sort of like fix things or like improve things. Um, but the meat of the things that I was using was still like strength training to get them better, right?
Right.
And then I realized like I always thought that I was looking for this like specific assessment process that would give me the answers I need, right? Like, oh, if this happens, then I can do this, right? I looked at the FMS stuff. Again, from my boy Anthony Gusson, he had like FMS level 1, 2, and then he had the SFMA, which is the clinical version, right?
Right.
So I took their what do you call the materials, and I studied them, I learned them, and it still didn't give me what I thought I needed, right? And then I realized when I took the FRC, I didn't need an assessment process. I needed to realize that there were prerequisites that people had to have for certain things, and I needed to figure out how to give them those prerequisites so they could do these things that they wanted to do, or continue doing what they wanted to do, or go back to doing what they love to do.
Right.
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 So
I mean, that's one of the reasons. Like for me, I was, I saw that, so many trainers in a lot of, uh, you know, top flight gyms and spaces like that have, FMS or FMS is required, and I remember kind of looking at the materials and being like, okay, so I got to have this contraption. I was like, man, what do I do? Like, do I have to bring this thing around with me? Do I have to take it to a client's house? Like, what is all this stuff? And
absolutely.
I remember my first kind of introduction to it a little bit from somebody, and I was like, in my head, I was like, okay, so we're testing this
I know what
movement.
I know what you're about to say.
We're testing this movement, but they can't, like, we're testing an overhead squat, but they can't squat. Okay, so like there's
It makes no
multiple
sense.
layers. There's
It makes no
multiple layers
sense.
to this, right?
Yeah,
Or
it
we're
makes no
testing an
sense.
overhead squat, but they don't have the range of motion to put their hands overhead in the first place.
Or like that quote that Neil said today from Dewey, right? So they're testing movement with movement. You're assessing movement with movement, right? And I'm not. I mean, I'm not down. I'm not trying to undermine anybody. I'm not trying to downgrade anybody. You know, but it didn't work for me. It didn't give me the results I wanted. I thought they should give me, and now it makes no sense to me whatsoever. And don't get me
Right.
wrong, that dude Ray Cookley, but it was smart as hell, right? Like way
Right.
smarter than
Right.
way smarter. Probably smarter than you and I put together.
Right.
You know, like they, but Dre is right. Like, we're making this way too complicated.
Right.
Right? This doesn't move, make it move.
Right.
This, you can't control this, control this.
Right.
Right? Like,
I mean,
why do we do that?
99% of our clients do not take their joints through their full ranges of motion on a daily basis. Period. Point blank.
Unless we are on them, right? And
right.
I mean, like, you know, Jennifer, like, she's all about it, right? Jennifer, every damn day,
Jennifer, who I met at the farmer's market.
Yeah, every damn day. And I get a check-in from her, right? Because she also has like some systemic stuff going on. I don't want to put her business on, but
Right.
So cars is just as much as the maintenance for her. It's so important for her daily self-assessment, right?
Right.
You know, we communicate back and forth. Like if something's going on, she's gonna text me like, "Hey, this is what I found in cars this morning." I'm like, "Boom, I need you to do this."
Right.
Right.
That's
And
dope.
honestly, like, if you put in that investment in getting the people you get to work with to take that in, and let's be honest, like, there are people that, you know, you're not going to be able to say, hey, I need you to do a full cars routine every day, right?
Right.
At this point, I'm sure that, you know, the people that I get to work with trust me enough where if I really like, hey, I need you to do this, right, they're going to do it. But they're not, I don't have buy-in with that, right?
Right.
So as coaches, we have to play this line between like, I know you need this, but I also know about the buy-in factor. I also know about your lifestyle. You know, these are things we should be taking into account. So like, do I have everybody do a full cars routine? No. I don't, because I know that if I can get them to do a few the certain number of things, address them with cars, they're going to be better off than if I told them to do all these and they don't do any of them.
Right.
Or they sit there and go like this, or you know, like so it's that thing as a coach where you're kind of like, okay, what's going to be best for this person in front of me right now, and you have to take all these other factors into play, right? How much time they spend at work? What is their work? Like how much awareness do they have? Do they have kids? What's their relationship like right now? Like there are all these things you got to think about, right? How are they sleeping?
Right.
Can we really add something else into their day? And does that help or hurt them, right?
Right.
So, you know, it's a fine line, man. Just do the best we can.
I mean, that's, I think with having a daily routine, it takes a certain type of individual. You know, it's not.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know,
it's not for everyone.
And where we were or where we reside, we have a lot of people who are like, well, a lot of people who claim they have no time. But I mean, there's a lot of people who are.
I wish somebody would tell me they had no time.
People, they don't have twins.
I wish you would tell me you didn't have time.
But I mean, it's one of those things where like the people we work with are generally, you know, pretty busy lifestyle, you know, type of people.
For sure.
So asking them to do more, you know, on their own time is kind of tough sometimes.
Yeah.
Right. But you know, I think like I was kind of saying, like I think a lot of the people that you know that are out there who are seeking training, you know, don't understand the fact that 1 hour maybe twice a week is just not enough, And
Exactly.
then on the trainer side, you've got trainers who are training people as if they're not just sitting at their desk for 40
Hmm.
plus hours out of the
No, I
week.
absolutely agree, man. I absolutely agree. The art of coaching largely has to do with how well you can assess that person that's in front of you right then, right? That person that's in front of you is not the person the same person that was in front of you the day before, right? Even if it's that same person, right? We don't know, like, if I saw him yesterday, him or her yesterday, and this is exactly what was going on, that person comes in the next day or the day after that, it doesn't mean that I'm still talking to the same person, right? And we don't know what happened in between then. We don't know how much time spent at this. We don't know how well they recovered from the last training session. We don't know um, if whatever foods they ate had some type of it. Like there's so many things that you can't think of. It's a constant state of reassessment as a coach every single minute that you're on the floor, right?
Right.
And you're right. It has to be appropriate,
Right.
right? I ask always, like, something that I'm big on is like, is it appropriate for this person right now today, right? Is this, and like, it might have been appropriate in the last set. It might not be appropriate now, right? So
Right.
it's very hard to have this sort of programming, like, boom, you're gonna do this, 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 and this, right? You need to be able. What Mike Tyson say? Everybody got a plan until they get punched in the mouth, right?
Right.
So you gotta be prepared to get punched in the mouth, right? Be ready for that. And whatever plan you had, be aware that when they show up, it might not be what you're supposed to do. It might not be right for them. It might not be appropriate. You have to be able to adjust. And I
Yeah.
think one of my greatest skills is that I can adapt, right? Like, you put me in the gym, like, I'm at home. Like, you put me in, like, whatever hood, wherever, I'm at home, right? You put me around a bunch of, like, super educated, literary type cats, like, I'm pretty sure that I'm gonna be able to hold my own. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, so that's one of those things. You got to be able to adapt. If you want to be a good coach, you have to be able to adapt, right?
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's for sure. I mean, anyway, it's pretty crazy. I mean, the stuff we talk about on a regular basis at the gym, just kind of, chatting about, the idea of what's out there
Mm-hmm.
as far as training, coaching. I mean,
Yeah.
I think there's a huge misunderstanding in our health and fitness realm about what's actually health and what's actually sport and
Yeah.
the thing that you actually enjoy,
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
you
I,
know.
I agree, man. Completely agree. Like, everybody, for example, I know that there's people like, oh, everybody's an athlete, right? To some degree, I guess that's true.
Right.
But it's like we were saying the other day, like, you are not a warrior,
Right.
right? You are not a warrior, right? It goes back to that thing, like, you're training somebody who sits at a desk 60 hours a week, like they should be at the CrossFit Games.
Right.
Not that anybody necessarily should be at the CrossFit Games, but never mind. That's you don't want any cuss words. So.
Don't get you started. But I mean, no, I feel you on that point. I think one of the things, like, everybody's like into warrior training and this training and that training. I get it. If you do adventure racing and that's the thing that you enjoy, then you need to train for that, right? But I would even argue that a lot of people are not training properly for that as
I
well.
agree. I completely agree. I completely agree.
Like, and then you look at, other things where people are like, like I called my Steel Mace series class, Steel Mace Modern Warrior, right?
Oh, see, it's your fault. You started it.
And so
Your fault.
and so people, it was really to capture people's, warrior mindset, but I put the word modern in front of there for a reason, and the whole idea was like, you are not a Spartan. You are not a Viking. You are not any of these things. You are a regular, everyday citizen who sits on their ass most of the time.
Yeah.
And those guys, those warriors and those people like that were actually moving all the time, all day, doing work, finding food, whatever it was that they do, they were doing stuff all day long.
Yeah.
Right? So, I mean, I just think we have to do a good job of like trying to, like, it's our job to kind of try to reframe that.
Yeah, definitely. Like, have you read that book Sapiens yet?
No, haven't.
So it's like one of my current, like, or recent favorite reads. And just let me just to piggyback on that, he has this part where he's like, somebody who existed like 3,000 years ago, whatever, right? A human being was able to get into any type of position that they wanted, right? That somebody who takes yoga consistently for 6 years right now could not.
Right.
Right? Like, I think like everybody could do hunter type stuff back then.
Right.
Right? With that, and it wasn't, not that like Hunter is a specimen. Don't get me wrong, right? But back then, Hunter might not have stood out.
Right.
Like, think about that for a second. Can you imagine that? And why is that? Because they adapted to the stress, right? They adapted to the environment. That's what the environment commanded. Like, you had to climb, you had to crawl, you had to hunt, you had to gather.
Right.
You had to be physically prepared to carry on your lineage.
Right.
Right? And none of that is even like what. When did they invent chairs?
Right.
When did they invent shoes?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, all this convenience is killing us.
Right.
Right? And we love it though.
Right.
And we love it.
And
it's crazy.
We're stuck in it.
Crazy.
We're stuck in it, right?
Yeah.
Like, we can't go backwards.
We can't. I mean, some people are, but it's like. And that, if I'm being honest, I probably couldn't go back to it either,
Right.
But I'm gonna try to balance that out as much as I can, right?
Because the minute I get like a thorn in the bottom of my foot, it's over. Like, I'm not I would be like down there on the ground, just like Peter Griffin, like
But then we realized that our ancestors would not have noticed that.
Right.
Right.
Well, their feet would have been like concrete.
Skin.
Yeah, the feet would have been so solid.
Yeah. So like, we're soft. We just have to be real. We're soft. Like,
right.
As tough as you are, you're soft right now.
Right.
So, as tough as you are right now, you're still soft.
Right.
So
I mean, it's I think that's one of the things I'm looking forward to, like working to like create and push forward, with you is this sort of like mindset. For those of you who don't know, me and Nat are working on some stuff together, and it's going to be more than just movement tip Tuesdays.
Yeah.
We're trying to take that to a whole other dimension for y'all, and so we'll be able to truly give you Obama and Luther.
I get to be me.
We will let Nat be Nat in his entirety and just like flame on, and I'll be the chill guy because that's what I do. I chill for the most part. Actually, Nat's had to make me calm down a few times because I almost went nuts on Instagram a few times on a few things.
We balance each other out when we need to.
So, fortunately,
we both wear different hats at different times.
Fortunately, I have that support to tell me simmer down, young man, simmer down. Yeah. But
if we both go Luther, it's gonna be a bad deal.
Oh man, I don't think y'all want that.
I don't think anybody wants that.
I can't do it. Like I told somebody else, I'm like David Bruce. Is it Bruce Banner? Yeah. I'm always angry, but it's like the the Hulk. Everybody's like, bring the Hulk out, and I'm like, I'm just keeping it in. I'm doing you guys a favor.
No, like, and I don't say that in like a macho way when I'm saying that, right? Like, I think it's kind of like my boy Marcus I was just talking about when he came out real quick. I was like, I remember one time back in there, he was like, everybody worry about like, what if they get mad or what if he get mad? And he was like, and he said a few curse words, and he's like, Tap, you don't even worry about what if I get mad. You know what I mean? And it's true because when I think about it, like, and again, I'm not saying this like I'm bragging or like, because I don't feel that way about this, right? But like when I get angry, like I don't recognize myself. You know
Right.
what I mean? And when I get angry, it's almost like it's surreal because I'm there and I'm watching this and I can't stop it.
Right.
It's just like don't tempt me to go there.
Right.
Like, please just don't tempt me to go there. You know, and it's like on an everyday basis, I'm walking through the market, right? And for whatever reason, you feel like you need to tell me that the line is over here, even though I'm not going to go check out, right? Like, you need to tell me that the line is over here. Like, first of all, like, you could have simply said, "Oh, hey, man, the line is over here," right? Like, because like if you never know who you're talking to, right?
That is true.
And if you can't just be polite to people just to be polite, or say hi to people, just or just talk to people civilly, you probably shouldn't talk because you catch me on the wrong day and you come at me like that, right?
And
It's bad for everybody.
it's bad.
It's horrible for everybody. Everybody. You know what I mean? And it's just like I feel like I'm constantly holding that in, right? And I was talking to Casey about this the other day. I was like, I need to get back to like doing Muay Thai. I need to get back to doing Jiu-Jitsu. She's like, why? I was just like, and I don't know how to explain it to her that like something in me just craves that, right? Something in me craves to be like in that type of situation.
Right.
And I think society today, they're like, oh, it's bad for you to be angry. It's bad for you to like violence, blah, blah, blah. And I don't like violence, right? But I enjoy like this engagement of this combat type sport, right? I don't know what it is. Maybe it's like maybe it's something. Maybe there's some type of genetic code of my ancestors. I don't know, right? But I know that I enjoy that, and I know that's one of the times that I truly feel free, right? And I truly feel like I'm being myself. And when I'm just like, they talk about being in flow, right? I feel like I'm in flow a lot of times when I'm on the floor and I'm just like boom, right? Like it's just boom. I'm not just going, right? And I feel like I'm in that place like when like I can just stop being self-conscious, like doing Muay Thai or when I'm rolling and I'm doing Jiu-Jitsu, then I'm just there, right? And furthermore, like we come from that, like that's
I mean, you
like,
come from that. That's your ancestry.
So, yeah, I don't think that's a bad thing. Like we like poo-poo people who like enjoy those types of things. We look on them as barbarians, but we used to be barbarians, right? And I think when you hold stuff in too much, or like that starts to affect who you are and how you interact with people, and you start to like let other people become become someone who takes advantage of somebody because of like the way that you're behaving, right? Like you're no longer standing up for yourself because you don't want to be looked at as a bad guy, or you're not saying I need this because you don't want to be thought of as selfish or something, right? When in reality, like if you don't take care of yourself and you don't state your needs and you don't like make it your personal responsibility to get those needs met, like you're doing a disservice to yourself and the people around you, because then you start to you start to become resentful, and you start to get like bitter, and like you keep that poison inside and you don't let it out, right? And I think that's healthy.
I think you have to have that nice little easy flow of like release, just kind of like it's like releasing just a little bit of that gas and that pressure, keeping a little bit inside to keep you pushing on, but at the same time just letting a little bit out so that you don't explode. And that's the balance, right?
That's the balance, and you should learn to live your life in a way that's constantly going on, so it never has to be a conscious thing, right?
Right.
So, and I think everybody should embrace whatever it is they enjoy. They shouldn't worry unless it hurts somebody else, right? Like me, when I say Muay Thai Jiu-Jitsu, like people are coming there voluntarily to participate in this. But when I say hurt somebody, like like if you're doing something to somebody against their will, like, and you enjoy that, that's not okay. Like we need to examine that. You know what I mean?
Right.
But you like whatever you enjoy, you shouldn't be ashamed of it, right?
Right.
Like you're a man, you like a man, you should be okay. You're a woman, like a woman, that's okay. Like if you enjoy like playing with yo-yos when you're on a Bosu ball, that should be okay. Just don't think it's the best way to train your ankles. It's not. If you want to stand in a bag and stand on it with like a banner on your head and like swing a freaking toupee around and like, oh, this is the best ankle stability. Shut the hell up, man.
If you put $1 million athletes on stability balls
and put kettlebells upside down and hold like one kettlebell on top of another one upside down, and like, you are a damn idiot. You are a fool. Like you shouldn't be working with people. You should be like you should be scooping sand out of the beach. That's what you should be doing.
we we should go down that path. We'll be on for another hour. We start going down that path, but
cuss words too.
But
I haven't said one cuss word the whole time.
You probably have, but I'll have to go back and listen to it.
Dang it! I thought
But yeah, man, everybody, check out Nat on Instagram. It's Nat NAT underscore A, the letter A, underscore what, WHAT. And check him out on Instagram. Go ahead and follow him. And like I said, we've got some cool stuff coming up soon, and be on the lookout for it. We'll shout you guys out when it happens. But the first step starts by following us on Instagram and checking out our Movement Tip Tuesdays together. All right?
Yep.
Thanks for joining us today, and I'll see you at the gym, bro.
All right, bro. See you tomorrow. Peace.
Peace out.